So welcome to this session on signals and systems. So we completed up to the point number 6, up to the topic number 6 in the last class. So what is topic number 6? It is cross correlation function of the power signals. So which is denoted by R12 of tau. So R12 of tau is nothing but cross correlation of first signal with respect to the second. So how can we define with respect to the power signal? So it is limit t tends to infinity. So 1 by t integral minus t by 2 to t by 2. Here the first signal is x1 of t. So what is the second signal? x2 of t minus tau. So we take the conjugate of the second signal. We are going to integrate the result with respect to the dt. So this is the cross correlation function of the power signal. So using these formulas, so whatever the autocorrelation with respect to the energy signal, whatever the autocorrelation with respect to the power signal, so whatever the cross correlation with respect to the energy signal and with respect to the power signals, these are the formulas. So using these formulas only we are going to prove the various properties of the autocorrelation function and the cross correlation function. So up to the last class we completed the topic number 6. Up to the topic number 6 we completed up to the last class. So in this class we are going to discuss this topic number 7. So this is also given essay question in your examination. The topic number 7 is, so we are going to differentiate. So this is your topic number 7. So we are going to differentiate the energy spectral density function, and also we are going to take the power spectral density function. So this is your energy spectral density function, this is your power spectral density function. Now how can we differentiate these two? So in the examination it is given, so differentiate the energy spectral density function with respect to the power spectral density function. So that is the essay question given, and explain the properties also. Explain the properties of the energy spectral density function or the power spectral density function. So these topics are already covered. So what is energy spectral density function? So it is denoted by what? It is denoted by psi of omega. Psi of omega is nothing but the energy spectral density function. I already told you in the previous classes. So that is the first point with respect to the energy spectral density. And how can you define this power spectral density function? So the power spectral density function is denoted by S of omega. So S of omega is nothing but the power spectral density function. So that is the representation of the energy spectral density function and the power spectral density function. So when it comes to the definition of the energy spectral density function, so the definition states that, so the energy spectral density function gives the, so ESD, so gives the, so representation of, so the representation of total energy of the signal. So total energy of the signal, total energy of signal, so over the frequency domain. So over the frequency. So this is the definition of the energy spectral density function. So the energy spectral density function gives the representation of the total energy of the signal, so over the given frequency. Now how can you define this psi of omega? This psi of omega is what? So it is nothing but square root value of the spectrum of your energy signal. So we already derived this formula. So the energy spectral density function is nothing but the square root value. So this is the square root value for what? For the spectrum of your energy signal. So your energy signal is x of t. So what is the spectrum of this energy signal? It is x of j omega. So if you take this square root value for the spectrum of this energy signal, so we will get what? The energy spectral density function. So the energy spectral density function gives the distribution of the total energy of the signal over the frequency domain. That is the definition of the energy spectral density function. So when it comes to the power spectral density function, so the power spectral density function gives the distribution of total power, gives the distribution of power, gives the distribution of power over the frequency domain. So this is the definition of the power spectral density function. So it gives the total power, the distribution of the total power over the frequency domain, over the given frequency domain. So it is denoted by already given, it is denoted by S of omega. How can you define this? So it is limit t tends to infinity 1 by t mod x of j omega whole square. So this is the definition of the power spectral density function. So you just remember the mathematical expressions. So what is energy spectral density function and what is the power spectral density function? So the power spectral density function or energy spectral density function, both are the square root values of the spectrum of your corresponding energy signal or the spectrum of your corresponding power signal. In the case of power spectral density, we use the power signal. In the case of energy spectral density function, we use the energy signal. So here the signal x of t is energy signal. Here the x of t is the power signal. So if you consider the power signal, and if you calculate the total power, distribution of the total power over the frequency domain, that is your power spectral density function. So this is the second property with respect to the energy spectral density function and the power spectral density function. So when it comes to the third point, so with respect to the energy spectral density function, so the area under the energy spectral density function gives the total energy of the signal. So this is the formula. So we are going to use to calculate the total energy of the signal. So you just consider the area under the energy spectral density function. So this is the formula used to calculate the total energy of the signal. The total energy of the signal can be obtained by calculating the area under the energy spectral density function. Here psi of omega is what? The energy spectral density function. So if you take the integration minus infinity to plus infinity, mean with respect to d omega gives the total energy of the signal. So that is your capital E. So this can be all given in the another direction. So it is psi of f df. So it can also be defined in this fashion also. So if I take psi of omega, here you need to divide this integral result by 2 pi factor, because omega is what? So omega is 2 pi f. So if I express the same equation in terms of the frequency, so you can express in this way. So this is the total energy of the signal. So how can you calculate the total energy of the signal? To calculate the total energy of the signal, so you just consider the area under the energy spectral density function. Area under the energy spectral density function. Now when it comes to the power spectral density function, so how can you calculate the average power of the signal? So you just take the area under the power spectral density function, which is psi of omega. So you will get what? The total average power of the signal. So in terms of f, if I can write the same expression, so this is your total average power of the signal. So the total average power of the signal directly obtained from the power spectral density function. So in the examination, energy spectral density function is given to you. Psi of omega is given to you. Calculate the total energy, like that they are asking. So if psi of omega is given, so how can you calculate the total energy of the signal? So using this integral operation. So using this expression, we are going to calculate the total energy of the signal. Suppose if psi of omega is given, how to calculate the total power of the signal? So using this expression, so we are going to calculate the total power of the signal. You just take the integration from minus infinity to plus infinity. Integral minus infinity to plus infinity meaning is the area under the that curve. So if it is ESD, the area under the ESD is nothing but total energy of the signal. So if it is the PSD, the area under the PSD is nothing but the total average power of the signal. So this is the third property of the energy spectral density function and power spectral density function. So when it comes to the fourth property, so the autocorrelation function and the energy spectral density function, so which is psi of omega, both are Fourier transform pairs. So both are Fourier transform pairs. That means if you take the Fourier transform of the autocorrelation function, you should get the energy spectral density function. Or if you take the inverse Fourier transform of this energy spectral density function, you should get the correlation function R of tau. Therefore these two are Fourier transform pairs. So that is the fourth property of the energy spectral density function. So when it comes to the power spectral density function, so here the cross correlation function, the autocorrelation function and the spectral density function, here also the both are Fourier transform pairs. So if you take the Fourier transform of the autocorrelation of the power signal, so you should get the power spectral density function, which is S of omega. I already explained in the case of the energy signals and power signals for autocorrelation function. And if you take the inverse Fourier transform of this power spectral density function, you should get the autocorrelation function R of tau. Therefore, both are Fourier transform pairs. So this is the fourth property. So what is psi of omega will get? So we'll get mod of x of j omega whole square. I already prove this property. So how can you get the power spectral density function? The power spectral density function is limit t tends to infinity. So 1 by t mod x of j omega whole square. This is your power spectral density function. So in the examination, the question is given like this. So define energy spectral density function and give the properties of energy spectral density function. So this how can you define the energy spectral density function? So it is defined by represented by psi of omega, and it gives the total energy of the signal over the frequency domain. So this is the definition. After the definition, how to calculate the total energy and how to calculate the Fourier transform of the autocorrelation function. So these are the four properties of the energy spectral density function. So in the similar way, define the power spectral density function and give the properties of the power spectral density function. So like that, the essay question is given based on the seventh topic, which is the energy spectral density and the power spectral density functions and their properties. This is your seventh property of the seventh topic under the correlation of the signals. So when it comes to the last topic, so this is your last topic. The last topic is, this is also very important for the examination. So the relationship between, we already know the convolution of the signal, we already know the correlation of the signal. So we want to establish the relationship between the convolution. So we want to establish a relationship between convolution and correlation of the signals. So this is your last topic under the correlation of the signals. So we want to establish a relationship between the convolution and the correlation of the time domain signals. So how can we establish this relation? This is a very important essay question. So describe the relationship between the convolution and correlation of the signals. So for that you just consider the two signals, so x1 of t and x2 of t. And how can you define the convolution of x1 of t and x2 of t? So this is convolution of x1 of t and x2 of t. So what is the formula for convolution of the two signals? So it is integral minus infinity to plus infinity. So instead of x1 of t, you just consider x1 of tau. So instead of x2 of t, you just consider x2 of t minus tau. So we are going to integrate with respect to the d tau. So when it is convolution, so this is your convolution operation. So convolution means what? For the given input and the impulse response, so you will get the response of the system. So y of t, to find out the y of t, use the convolution operation. So convolution of the two signals will give the new signal, that is your y of t. So how can you perform this integral operation, x1 of tau into x2 of t minus tau d tau? So that is the convolution of the two signals in the time domain. This is the formula. We already know this formula, the convolution of the two signals. And what is the correlation of the signals? So what is the formula we are going to use to find out the correlation of the signals? So the correlation of the signals, here I consider the cross correlation function, which is R12 of tau. So because I consider the two different signals, therefore I am going to define this cross correlation function R12 of tau with respect to the energy signal. So and this is your cross correlation function. I consider the real time signals, not the complex signals, just you consider the real time signals. So this is your cross correlation of the two signals. So this formula we already know. Here I won't consider the conjugate because the signals we consider are the real time signals. Whenever the signals are real time, no need to consider the conjugate. So to establish a relationship between the convolution and the correlation, first you consider the two signals. After that you just define the convolution of the two signals. You just define the correlation of the two signals, that is cross correlation of the two signals. And later you just consider based on this formula. So you just consider this equation, the convolution of x1 of t and x2 of minus t. So you just considered instead of x2 of t, I just considered x2 of minus t. Now the convolution of x1 of t and x2 of minus t gives minus infinity to plus infinity. Instead of x1 of t, you just substitute x1 of tau. So instead of x2 of t minus tau, here t is replaced by t minus tau. Here also t is replaced by t minus tau. So minus of t minus tau. So we are going to integrate with respect to d tau. Now what is the my right hand side here? I just replace how to perform this convolution operation. To perform the convolution operation, you should integrate minus infinity to plus infinity. The first signal is x1 of tau. Instead of x1 of t, you just consider x1 of tau. That means you just replace t by a dummy variable tau, so that you will get x1 of tau. So for the second signal x2 of t, instead of x2 of t, you just consider x2 of t minus tau. So how can you get x2 of t minus tau? So to get the x2 of t minus tau, first perform the, so first x2 of d is given, you just replace t by tau variable, so you will get x2 of tau. So after x2 of tau, you just perform the folding operation, so that you will get x2 of minus tau. After performing the folding operation, you just perform the shifting operation, so that you will get x2 of t minus tau. So that is the procedure we are going to use to find out the x2 of t minus tau. So this procedure I explained already in the convolution of the two signals. So this is the formula we are going to use to find out the convolution of the two signals, and this is the formula we are going to use to find out the correlation of the two signals. So using this formula to establish this relation between the convolution and correlation, I just use this formula, and instead of x2 of t, I just consider x2 of minus t. Therefore your second signal, in the place of t, I just replace t by t minus tau. In the formula you just observe here, so that I will get x2 integral minus into plus infinity. So x1 of tau, here I will get x2 of tau minus t. So x2 of tau minus t. So we are going to integrate with respect to d tau. So after this, you just replace tau by another dummy variable n. So implies a small change in tau will result a small change in n. A small change in tau will result a small change in n. I just take this entire expression from tau domain to n domain, so that I will get integral minus infinity to plus infinity. Here we have, so x1 of n, because tau is replaced by n, and x2 of, we have n minus t, and d tau is what? So d tau is nothing but dn. D tau is nothing but dn. So this is my right hand side. So what is my left hand side? So my left hand side is x1 of t convolution, so x2 of minus t. This is my left hand side. So this is my right hand side. Now after this, so you just replace t by tau on both sides of this equation. You just substitute t by tau on both sides of this expression. So you will get what? So you will get x1 of tau. You just clearly observe x2 of minus tau. So that is equal to, so integral minus infinity to plus infinity. I just replace t by tau. Here we have x1 of n. Here we have x2 of n minus t dn. Here t is replaced by tau. So you just replace t by tau. Here we have tau. So this is the expression I got. I just replace t by another variable tau on both sides of the equation. So you just observe here. So what is the formula of this equation? So you just observe here. So what is the formula? What is my right hand side expression? So my right hand side expression is nothing but what? So it is nothing but R12 of tau. So my right hand side is nothing but what? The cross correlation of the two signals. So instead of t, I just consider n is the variable. N is the variable. Therefore, I am going to integrate with respect to n. So but in the cross correlation, I just consider t. So instead of t, here we have the variable is n, and the formula is same. So instead of t, I just consider n is the variable. Therefore, this formula represents the cross correlation of the function, which is R12 of tau. So that means what? So your cross correlation function R12 of tau, so is equal to what? How can we get? To get the cross correlation function R12 of tau, so you just convolute your two signals. So like this. We have given two signals, x1 of t is given, x2 of t is given. I want to find R12 of tau. How can you find out R12 of tau? So you just convolute the two signals. In that one signal is x1 of tau. How can you get x1 of tau? You just replace t by dummy variable, so that I can get x1 of tau. And how can you get x2 of minus tau? You just replace x2 of t by x2 of minus tau. So by how can you get the cross correlation function? to get the cross correlation function, you just convolute the two signals in this fashion. So I just rewrite this formula in this fashion: x1 of t, because x1 of t is given, and x2 of minus t, and you can evaluate the result at t equal to tau. At t equal to tau, you can evaluate this convolution operation, so that I can get the cross correlation function R12 of tau. So this is nothing but the relationship between the convolution and the correlation of the signals. To find out the correlation of the signals, you just perform this convolution operation on the given two signals and evaluate the result at t equal to tau, so that we will get R12 of tau, R12 of tau. Now, how can we get R21 of tau? How can we get R21 of tau? So R12 of tau we can get by using this convolution operation and evaluate the result at t equal to tau, so that we will get R12 of tau. Now how can we get R21 of tau? So to get R21 of tau, so you just consider the x2 of t convolution x1 of minus t and perform the and find out the result at t equal to tau, and find out the result at t equal to tau. So using this, we are going to find out the cross correlation of the function R12 of tau. So this is the relationship between the convolution and correlation of the signals. Once again I will repeat the relationship between the convolution and correlation of the signals. So to establish a relationship between the convolution and correlation of the signals, you just consider the two signals, which is x1 of t and x2 of t. Two signals are given to you. So whenever two signals are given to you, so you already know the convolution of the two signals. So this is the formula we are going to use to find out the convolution of the two signals. Here you should remember everything. You should remember so many formulas in these signals and systems. So among them one is convolution, very important formula. Convolution of two signals will always produce a new signal. So using this integral operation we will get the new signal. So this is the correlation function, which is R12 of tau. So this formula already we know. Now I am going to establish a relationship between this convolution and correlation. So what is that relation? For that I just consider the convolution of these two signals like this: x1 of t convolution x2 of minus t. Here I consider, instead of x2 of t, I consider x2 of minus t and substitute everything and manipulate the equations, so that I can establish this relation, which is R12 of tau is equal to the convolution of two signals, that is x1 of t and x2 of minus t, and the result of this convolution is evaluated at t equal to tau, so that we will get R12 of tau, R12 of tau. So whenever here x2 of t is an even signal, so if x2 of t, you just note here, if my x2 of t is an even signal, so if x2 of t is even signal means what? So x2 of minus t is equal to x2 of t. So this fact is already you know. So for an even signal, so x2 of minus t is equal to x2 of t. So whenever the signal is even signal, the convolution is equal to the correlation of the signals, the correlation of the signals. So that is a very important point. So that is the relationship between the convolution and the correlation of the signals, convolution and the correlation of the signals. So this is all things we are going to cover under the correlation of the signals. So with this we completed the discussion of the correlation of the signals, So with this the correlation of the signals topic is entirely completed. So this is all